I was in 4th grade. It was Miss Burgess's class. It was snack time. We went to another room to get our snack, and the news was on. We saw the second tower get hit. We saw the first tower fall. And then we went back to class. It is a day I will never forget. Today I'm going to go over a timeline of events of what happened on September 11th, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you some more information about the events on September 11th. As you can see, today I have on my 343 shirt in honor of the 343 firemen who were killed at the Twin Towers site on 9/11. 5:45 a.m. Mohammed Atta and Abdulaziz Al-Amari, two of the intended hijackers, passed through security at Portland International in Maine. They will board a commuter flight to Boston's Logan International Airport in order to get on American Airlines Flight 11. 7:59 a.m. American Airlines Flight 11 takes off from Boston, headed towards Los Angeles, California. There are 76 passengers, 11 crew members, and 5 hijackers on board. 8:15 a.m. United Airlines Flight 175 takes off from Boston, headed to Los Angeles. There are 51 passengers, 9 crew members, and 5 hijackers on board. 8:19 a.m. A flight attendant on Flight 11, Betty Ann Ung, alerts ground personnel that a hijacking is underway and that the cockpit is unreachable. 8:20 a.m. American Airlines Flight 77 takes off from Dulles outside of Washington, D.C., headed for Los Angeles. There are 53 passengers, 6 crew members, and 5 hijackers on board. 8:24 a.m. Mohammed Atta, a hijacker on Flight 11, unintentionally alerts air controllers in Boston to the attack. He meant to press a button that would allow him to talk to passengers on his flight, but he pressed a button that connected him to the air traffic controllers in Boston. 8:37 a.m. After hearing the broadcast from Atta on Flight 11, Boston Air Traffic Control alerts the U.S. Air Force's Northeast Defense Sector, who then mobilizes the Air National Guard to follow the plane. 8:42 a.m. United Flight 93 takes off from Newark, New Jersey, after a delay due to routine traffic. It was headed for San Francisco, California. There are 33 passengers, 7 crew members, and 4 hijackers on board. 8:46 a.m. Flight 11 crashes into the World Trade Center's North Tower. All passengers aboard are instantly killed, and employees of the World Trade Center are trapped above the 91st floor. 9:03 a.m. Flight 175 crashes into the World Trade Center's South Tower. All passengers on board are killed instantly, and employees of the World Trade Center are trapped above the 77th floor. 9:05 a.m. President George W. Bush, who is in an elementary school classroom in Florida, is informed about the hit on the second tower. His chief of staff, Andrew Card, whispered the chilling news into the president's ear. Bush later wrote about his response. "I made the decision not to jump up immediately and leave the classroom. I didn't want to rattle the kids. I wanted to project a sense of calm. I had been in enough crises to know that the first thing the leader has to do is to project calm." 9:28 a.m. Hijackers take control of Flight 93. 9:37 a.m. Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon. All passengers are instantly killed, and so are about 125 civilian and military personnel in the building. 9:45 a.m. U.S. airspace is shut down under Operation Yellow Ribbon. All civilian aircraft are ordered to land at the nearest airport. 9:55 a.m. Air Force One with President George W. Bush takes off from Florida. 9:57 a.m. Passengers aboard Flight 93 begin to run towards the cockpit. Ziad Jarrah, one of the terrorists who took over the flight, begins to roll the plane back and forth in an attempt to destabilize the revolt. 9:59 a.m. The South Tower of the World Trade Center collapses. 10:02 a.m. Flight 93 plows into an empty field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Although its ultimate target is unknown, it was likely headed for either the White House or the U.S. Capitol. 10:18 a.m. President Bush authorizes any non-grounded airplanes to be shot down. At this time, all 4 hijacked planes had already crashed, but the president's team was operating under the impression that Flight 93 was still in the air. 10:28 a.m. The North Tower of the World Trade Center collapses. 10:53 a.m. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld orders the U.S. military to move to a higher state of alert, going to DEFCON 3. 12:15 p.m. Airspace in the United States is completely free of all commercial and private flights. 2:30 p.m. Rudy Giuliani, the mayor of New York City, visits the fallen Twin Towers of the World Trade Center site at what becomes known as Ground Zero. 5:30 p.m. Building 7 of the World Trade Center collapses. 8:30 p.m. President Bush addresses the nation. Some facts about 9/11. The attacks killed 2,977 people from 93 nations. 2,753 people were killed in New York. 184 were killed at the Pentagon, and 40 were killed on Flight 93, which crashed in Pennsylvania. A total of 19 hijackers were on the 4 planes. 15 of the 19 were from Saudi Arabia. 2 were from the UAE. 1 was from Lebanon, and 1 was from Egypt. Al-Qaeda is an international Islamic extreme terrorist network founded in the late 1980s by Osama bin Laden, who was killed in a U.S. military operation on May 1st, 2011. There are memorials at the site of the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania to remember those who were lost on that day. Where were you on 9/11? What do you remember? Were you like me in an elementary school? Were you in middle school or high school? Maybe you were a baby. Maybe you weren't even born yet. Or maybe you were already an adult in the working world. Let me know in the comments where you were, what you remember, and how 9/11 affected your life.